Hi, this is another story from my long tennis career, and it's called Careers Advice. There have been a few times in my life when I've been walking somewhere and have not wanted to arrive at my destination. A strange sensation, as the alternative would appear to be being struck by lightning on the way there. I had this very feeling as I walked along the corridor at senior school one day in early 1970. So what was it that filled me with such trepidation? Well, I was on my way to my one and only careers interview. I was all lined up by now with Mum and Dad's approval to leave school to play tennis full time. This was an extraordinary decision to take in 1970, unless you were one of the top juniors in the country, which I wasn't. True to form, I didn't tell anybody at school of this decision. Not even my best friend Tony knew of my plans, and I had absolutely no intention of telling the careers officer either. The trouble is, I'm not a very good liar. A few months earlier, my first tournament success had descended into farce. I was just about to walk headfirst into another one, and this time it was to be all my own fault. I started by telling him that I wanted to be an accountant, an act of some stupidity on my part, I have to say. He spoke to me for a few minutes about accountancy before noticing that I had completely switched off. He said to me sarcastically, "Well, hadn't you better take a few notes then?" I moved pen towards paper in a pathetic attempt to comply, but what was the point, as I hadn't been paying any attention at all and couldn't think of a single thing to write down. He said to me, "You haven't been listening to a single word I said, have you?" It was at this point I told him the truth. I said, "I don't want to be an accountant anyway. I want to be a tennis player." He looked stunned as I went on to say, "Or if not, I'll be a tennis coach. That's easy enough." My comments understandably went down like a lead balloon with him as he proceeded to spend the rest of the interview trying to convince me that this was a ludicrous and indeed unacceptable choice of career for me. I left with my tail firmly between my legs and feeling very embarrassed to have had such a lofty notion in the first place. My confidence had been destroyed in a few short minutes, and I needed my family's help like never before. When I returned home, I did something that I didn't normally do when I was a teenager. I actually opened up to Mum and Dad about my feelings. They were quick to pick me up, and Dad was to give me an inspirational talk about my ability to succeed. He thought that I was the bee's knees, and he wasn't slow to tell me so. His powers of motivation were truly second to none, and I was to realise many years later that I had inherited this very same quality when at least some of my dreams were to come true in my working life. My sister Jean had already left school to play tennis full time, and come September in 1970, we were to practice for 5 hours every day at Linkside Tennis Club in Wanstead before playing on a minor senior tennis circuit in Britain, which would start the following April. We were to compete alongside some of the biggest names in the UK and indeed Europe. They were heady days indeed. I'd reached this stage only 3 years after first picking up a racket in earnest, and naturally assumed that my future progress would continue at the same rate. This would prove to be an impossibly tough nut to crack, but a hell of a ride nonetheless.